So the last time that United have lost by a larger margin than 5-0 was in 1895 when Liverpool beat them 7-1 at Anfield.
Yeah.
And this was at Anfield,
Yeah.
And the 1895, like...
Even Ferguson wasn't born.
Yeah, even Ferguson wasn't. and the thing is, dude, I also wanted to mention this. I was thinking about this for like the whole weekend, man. Last person to score a hat trick at Old Trafford. You remember who it was?
Berbatov, wasn't it?
I mean, no, the last person to score a hat trick against United at Old Trafford.
Against United. Against United at Old Trafford. Wait, hold
so
on,
no player has done it. There's only one player.
Then it's no player. Yeah, Mo Salah lah, the last player technically as we speak.
Yeah, the last player, but before him. I'm talking about before him.
Man,
he's wearing a certain black Adidas Bank Siemens jersey. He was in the Champions League.
Oh, I remember. Was it Ronaldo?
Yeah, Ronaldo, man. R9 was the last person to score a hat trick at Old Trafford. Hello and welcome to another recording of the Al and Jerry podcast with me, Jerry, and my buddy Al.
What's up, guys? How you all doing? What a week of football. Shockers, surprises, and goals.
Yeah, tons of goals, huh?
Tons of goals. Ole said the will, at the will.
But that was the Liverpool fans
were buzzing in the way end, like
in full voice. I think Ole has never gotten support that staunch, I think, before. I think the unfortunate thing with Ole Gunnar Solksjaer, guys, is that he gets the best support from the other clubs,
Everybody's Ole in, except for the Man United fans.
Exactly. Oh, man. What a game. Let's be honest, guys. I think this was one of the more memorable Merseyside derbies. Liverpool and United derbies. Yeah, what am I talking about? One of the more memorable ones for the fact that, for Liverpool fans, I think mostly, but not really for United fans, because I don't remember a recent game being that open, really. I think all the United-Liverpool games have always been very tight, regardless of how the teams are doing, whether under Mourinho, whether under Van Gaal. I think, Al, the last time I remember Liverpool coming to Old Trafford and giving United really a problem was during the Moyes era,
Yeah, correct. 3-0.
And there were 3 penalties in that game, So it was kind of a tight match, but this one, just never seen a game like it. I've never seen a United-Liverpool game like this in my lifetime, at least, because, well, I grew up in the early 2000s, and that's when I started watching Liverpool. I mean, so many talking points, so many things in that match which we felt were off. With United's performance, obviously, with the defenders being out of position for so many of the goals, just United not pressing even, not pressing as a unit, pressing in a very isolated way, and even with sort of the midfield on the day for United. There were so many things to talk about. So what can you tell us about that game?
Yeah, well, looking back at this game, very importantly, the spectacle of English football, obviously. Man United, Liverpool, everybody watches it, regardless of position. I remember, when United were on top, Liverpool would come to Old Trafford, or United would go to Anfield, and Liverpool most of the time would win the games, despite not probably winning the leagues and so on, and it would be feisty affairs. And of course, over the years, Liverpool have been perhaps the better team of the two, but United have gone to, or rather the games at Old Trafford have been close or with a United win. So form goes out the window, definitely, right? But for this case of the game, apparently shape, structure, defense, footballing also goes out of the way for Man United.
Everything goes out of the way, just vibes. Tactics all out the window.
Out of the way. This is like, when you grow up in a certain taman or whatever, and you're playing your 6:30 p.m. football game with your lads, and your mother starts shouting at you at 7 p.m. and saying, okay, you've got 5 minutes to go, and all the defenders, the goalkeeper, everybody runs up, everybody wants a goal, leaving, and the defense just empty. That's how it felt,
Like Roja.
Like Roja, your goalkeeper wants to play striker and the goal will just be empty. Of course, I'm over exaggerating,
Yeah.
definitely.
Like everybody plays on one side of the field, one side of the field is completely empty, and then one half is like.
If they had Skepta and who scored, and you can just check the heat map in those kampongs in the area, I tell you, you'd be getting a heat on one side and totally clear on the other. But no, seriously, I think the game on a whole just showed the gulf. I think if we can speak all day long about Man United, I think we all can. The thing is that they were the poorer team and much, much poorer on the day. We can speak about their frailties and everything all day long. But I think I'll start off by saying that the gulf is completely clear between the two. I thought Liverpool, we saw them brilliant against City. They were brilliant against Watford, Leeds, all these teams. But in the United game, they just looked relaxed. It looked like a pre-season friendly for them, It looked just very, very relaxed in that sense.
I don't think Liverpool got out of third gear or second gear.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't. It was all a very relaxed affair in that game, and that's the thing. The simple basics of pressing. We all know pressing is a modern style of play today, but you have your waves of pressing. At least what I can understand from Liverpool's game. The first wave comes from the strikers, then your midfielders, which are going to be working like dogs.
And most importantly, Al, I think in that, sorry to interrupt, but pressing as a unit, the front three pressing as a unit. So not one of them goes alone. They go together, or they've organized in the way they press. They're not just like pressing for the sake of it.
Correct. Having a high line of the defense, that in itself is a tactic which has worked. I remember Arsene Wenger had deployed that style a couple of times also, but there's a way. There's a way to play 3-5-2. There's a way to play 4-3-3. There's a way to play 4-1-4-1, whatever it may be, but there's a way, there's a structure. And that's the thing. It's funny because, we could sit here and say, oh man, Maguire, rubbish. Luke Shaw, rubbish. Victor Lindelof, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, rubbish. But we mustn't forget, last season, right, some of the defenders, at least Maguire and Shaw, they were perhaps one off or part of the best defenders in the league. Look at the stats. We look at the Euros. Shaw and Maguire were pretty damn good, isn't it? So what's changed? Because players need coaching, Jerry. It's as simple as that. They need coaching. They need to know it's not where they know what to do and how to go about it and so on. Because it just becomes equivalent to me and you playing on a football pitch. We don't have duties. We won't know what to do. We're just going out there and just playing the game without having anything there. So it looked like that, which is funny because this is Man United Liverpool. The coaching staff actually think that, what, we're going to give respect to the team. It's going to be a cagey affair for the 45 minutes. Yeah. Then perhaps Klopp's going to bring off one defender and put on an attacker. I mean, come on. It's going to be from the get-go. I find it so odd that, these are simple things where people like you and I talk about week in, week out, and the whole world, you've got pundits and talk shows and podcasts and whatever. But, to be very quick on this, because we're covering both teams. Liverpool, fantastic on the day, right place, right time. Mo Salah hat-trick, of course, is always great. You got to finish what's in front of you. And the defense were rarely troubled. But Man United, we don't call for managers' heads in this podcast. We don't do that, right? But it does feel like this is a process of hitting the ceiling, because it would be remarkable if somebody, not just Ole, somebody can turn something like this around. I've not seen this. People compare this to Ferguson and say, Ferguson also, he had 4 years. But, Ferguson came from Aberdeen, winning a European Cup, having such experience playing this game. So it's not the same, actually. I've not seen anything like that.
And the eras are completely different.
Yeah, eras are completely different.
We totally can't compare. I think we can compare the quality of football, but just in terms of a manager and the pressure that they're under is completely different. I think a modern manager, he needs to really sort of prove himself in a team, and the pressure will be off. I think if you look at all the managers like Guardiola, Klopp, Tuchel, even in the other leagues like maybe Julian Nagelsmann, even
Postman, yeah.
even that guy. What was that guy who is manager for Germany now? It used to be Joachim Löw's like number two.
Low. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Hans
Can
Flick, Hansi Flick. I mean,
Hansi
those
Flick.
managers, they do come under pressure. Definitely every manager faces that sort of pressure, but they're not like the ridicule. They're not like joke of the media.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, they garner that level of respect, which I mean, I think Ollie needs to just look at it in that way. I mean,
correct.
someone like him deserves a lot more respect. He shouldn't be, joke of the English media basically, and like just
Correct.
the scapegoat, in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's baffling, and of course, if he is going to be in this job, that means it's getting the basics right. It's maybe an overhaul of the backroom staff. Is those of his who are of the management team helping
Yeah,
him to plan in games and all of these things. These are things which are very important. The top
yeah,
managers have got top people working next to them. Not people who are, as Jamie Carragher mentioned, not working on the job. Not the ones who are good today, maybe learning next week.
yeah,
And you take it from week to week. You need the best. If you're striving for the best. So
exactly.
I mean, to put it, probably you can tell me what you think about it. But to put an end to this, I think Man United shocking, but Liverpool stamping their authority and just finishing
Yeah,
off what's in front of them. I can't say they were fantastic because we
just
didn't see that.
clinical, very
Yeah,
clinical. Because I think they had 8 shots on target, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
and they scored 5.
Got
There
5
you
of
go.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. So you've got to finish what's in front of you. It doesn't have to
yeah,
be world class week in week out because
yeah,
Naby Keita didn't have to do a rainbow flick to beat David De Gea for the first goal. It's about getting the goal. It's about
yeah.
getting the goal. So what's more shocking is Naby Keita having to get the ball going into the box and scoring. You
Yeah,
don't see that
Naby Keita getting that amount of space
amount
in
of
the
space.
United penalty box.
Exactly. I've been watching Liverpool games for the last 3, 4, 5 games, right? And this is a person rarely in the box.
Yeah, he scores
And
worldies. He outside the box,
I have
and
got
he looks
scores
shocked afterwards.
exactly. And this is like space in the box to even have a finesse shot. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
That's like that's worrying.
I
So of
think
course,
I think De Gea deserves a lot more respect than that.
definitely he's the only
He
one
would
I
have
thought.
not been happy, man. I think he
Yeah,
would have been fuming out of everybody. The fact
yeah,
that
no.
they were given so much space.
If there were to be a positive, it will be him. That's all. That's all I can say
Yeah,
because none of
yeah,
those goals were his fault. Maybe if we're pushing it, he could have saved Salah's goal where Henderson passed it to him by the inside foot. But again, all of it, I don't think anything that he could have done. It's pinged on defensive errors and space and your defenders just basically playing out of position. There were so many times. Just to one last thing, we watch it on the TV, obviously. So many times, right? The centre backs were caught out of position. Wan-Bissaka had to move into the centre back position, which left the right back area empty. And I'm thinking to myself, if you've got a Robertson there, which we can't see on the telly, we can't see on the telly. But if the crosses come in and you've got an extra man there, James Milner or a Robertson, that's it, man. Curtains for Man United. But on the day itself, Liverpool brilliant, United.
yeah,
That's all I can say.
yeah. I think so many things you can
Yeah, we
actually
could
so
point
many
out
things
we
you
could
can
go all day
say
long.
about United's performance, but I think we've been saying it over the weeks, and I think ever since we started this show, we've been sort of pointing out so many things that's wrong with the performance, but it's all about just being prepared, having the tactics and going out and executing it, and also having that fitness as well, to keep pressing. I think the modern game requires you to press for 90 plus minutes every single game and to put
Yeah,
up those numbers, and those
exactly.
numbers
Yeah,
just get higher and higher as the season goes. So as the season goes ahead, a lot of these defensive numbers like United have, like in terms of shots conceded, in terms of pressing, and all those numbers that United are lacking, I think it's just going to expose itself even more.
yeah, Yeah.
as the season goes, because
Yeah.
I remember Ole as someone who had a very high pressing team, and he was as well a very tactical manager when he first
Mm.
came. I mean, if you think
Yeah.
about some of the matches that we had, I mean,
Mm. Mm.
if I'm not mistaken, the league before United finished second,
Mm.
they had started the game. I mean, they had started the season against Chelsea, and you
Yeah.
guys had won 4-1. I mean, United had won 4-1.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking. I mean, there were so many instances where Ole had his tactics on point, but the thing is,
Mm.
with the modern game like this, you have to keep progressing year by year.
Correct.
I think if you
Correct.
digress, I think that's where the issue is. If you keep, I mean, if you go backwards, it's not going to work. I mean,
Correct.
it's very obvious in that sense. Well, the first goal itself told you so much. I mean, for Naby Keita to have that amount of space, no way does he have the right to actually just run through and just
Correct.
score.
Correct.
I mean, he didn't even shoot it with much power. It's almost
Yeah.
like he just
Placed it.
finessed
Just
it. Yeah,
right.
placed it into the bottom corner. So I mean, that itself. I mean, we can talk about the first goal. So the first goal came from the fact that Wan-Bissaka had pushed up and left that space on the
Yeah.
right side of United's defense there, which Lindelof had to cover, Maguire
Mm.
had to cover, and Shaw also had to leave basically his left back position so that they can make that front space a little bit more compact. And as soon as they lost the ball and Salah got the ball, he just saw Naby Keita running into this space which was totally open, right?
Yeah.
And then he just treads the pass and Naby Keita has a free run on goal. So that first goal just came from the fact that United wanted to press higher, but just didn't know when to press and when to drop back.
Yeah.
And so many times we've seen that from Aaron Wan-Bissaka because he's a good player. I mean, he's a very athletic player. He can get up and down very easily, right? But you've got to know when to push the trigger. You got to see maybe a good time to press would be when that left wing, basically on that day, Jota and Robertson. Let's say Jota and Robertson are playing very high.
Yeah.
And you feel there's going to be a defensive transition where Liverpool lose the ball and United can attack. That's when United's right back can push up, right? That's when someone like Wan-Bissaka can run very clearly into that space because the space is there, it's open, and he
None of
knows he
that
can
happened.
exploit this. Yeah, none of that happened. And we can tell, I mean, these are just very basic tactics as fans we can just watch and talk about. Obviously, the complexities and stuff, what happens in the training ground, we're not going to know, and it's not really for us to know. It's for us to watch the matches and enjoy how it takes place, right?
That's the only thing we can see. That's for us fans and people who are going to be.
That's the only thing we can see. We can watch from the match and see how they perform,
from that.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not master tacticians here, but we can notice just basic instructions. I mean, even an assistant manager will tell a substitute before coming on, But yeah, aside from that, I think United were not prepared for the match and they were punished on the highest level. And I think that I don't think that can really be excused, especially where United want to challenge. I think we saw a big statement from the fans leaving after Paul Pogba got the red card.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the camera just panned out to Old Trafford, and we saw the whole long line of people. I think in the hundreds, almost thousands. People walking out. I mean, that itself is a big statement.
Yeah.
I think with big clubs like United, Liverpool, even Barcelona for that matter, with the amount of fans in that stadium, I think once you lose the fans, it's very hard to get back.
Oh yeah, definitely. So what happened to Ronald Koeman?
Yeah, I mean, he was being mobbed right by the Barca fans. Yeah, but Al and myself have been saying this. If you can go back to all our shows, I think we've been saying this. I think Ole has done a lot of good for the club. It's just about taking United to that next level.
Correct.
And
correct.
we can see where the level is at year in, year out. It's not we're like, oh, this season we'll see who's going to be the best team. I think we already know who's going to be the best team. I think City set that standard so bloody high over the last few years. It's so obvious you've got to be dumb and illiterate not to be able to see where the level is at and where the bar is at right now. Aside from that, I think Liverpool were good on the day. I want to single out two players which I think rarely get mentioned is firstly Henderson, I think, with his pressing in the midfield and just his intensity, and Roberto Firmino. I think the fact that they didn't start Sadio Mane on the day and decided to play Jota on the left just opened that space for Firmino to come into. And the amount of work he was doing, right, leading up to the goals, I mean, I feel he was one of the top performers on that day, even though he didn't get the goals and didn't necessarily get the assists, but just his pressing, knowing when to press the defenders, knowing when to press the midfielders. Like, if you were to see for the fifth goal, right, Al, so it was Pogba bringing the ball out through that midfield. And how many times have we seen, even for France as well, Pogba bringing the ball out and taking too much time. It's like he's not making the decision, right?
Getting caught the ball, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you can so easily just pass it back or keep the move going instead of just taking too much time. It's like he's waiting for the space to open up so he can tread this, Hail Mary pass that's going to make it and like get the goal, right?
Again,
and Firmino so easily sniffed out that he knew Pogba was taking too much time on the ball, immediately went to attack him, right? And Pogba almost lost the ball. That's when Henderson came in, intercepted the ball, and traded the path for.
I really think this is all down to coaching. Not on the fact that Pogba needs to be coached on this, but on the fact that Liverpool know the weaknesses. This comes down again to the coaching, because Pogba does this almost every game. It seems like Liverpool
they knew
who punishes him. And again, that comes down again. How can a player come in the second half, or whenever he came onto the game, and lose the ball within the first 5 minutes of the game, and that's it, boom, 5-0. Of course, I know he got red carded. I know he got red carded, which we can speak about on a different account. But this kind of things, again, you're playing against perhaps the best pressing team in the league, and there you are, just dilly-dallying,
taking your time.
Yeah, taking your time all over the ball and things like that.
Yeah,
cannot, man, cannot.
So I feel also in the second half, he probably should have brought Ronaldo off. I think he should have brought on someone to just press, because the fact that, I mean, there were times in that second half where you could see Ronaldo's body language, like he was not up for it. I mean, in games like that, I think
he was frustrated. He was. I thought
he was just. Yeah. I mean, for him, he's got nothing to prove.
Correct.
I think United could have done a lot with Lingard on that day, because he's someone who presses quite well and he knows how to press.
He presses a lot, and his off-the-ball movement is also decent, which is again another thing. Man United's off the ball is so poor, so poor. We can only see this after the game, highlights and internet videos whatsoever. Sky Sports will put this and that.
So many rebounds missed, rebounds missed.
Exactly. So these are all, again, it's not exactly, I wouldn't say it's footballing 101, but you're at that stage where you can't make footballing 101 mistakes. This is, if you're going to do that against Man City, God knows whether it's going to be another 5, maybe 6, maybe 7, because as from, I think, if you look at it, I think the tactics, that's the biggest thing that needs to change. And if that's going to be leading to a change in managerial position, that's going to mean a certain Italian who's going to be coming and shouting in your ears what to do, what to go, and this and that. Might be, or a certain Frenchman who might come and perhaps know how to play with these players like Ronaldo and so on. I think it might be Conte. I think that he is the obvious choice because he's played in the Premier League, whatever not. coached in the Premier League and everything. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to, as it stands, I think it's, we're recording on a Tuesday evening, late evening. As it stands, I think Ole is still the manager, I think, right? So we'll never know, but they've got a
we'll never know. Not been much breaking news just yet, but we will see, guys. I mean, we've been doing this since the season started, and things can change very, very quickly. Yeah, I mean, Al, just before we get into the managers, I just wanted to read out this stat for you, and I found, wow. So the last time that United have lost by a larger margin than 5-0 was in 1895. When Liverpool beat them 7-1 at Anfield. Yeah. And this was at Anfield, Yeah. And the 1895, like...
Even Ferguson wasn't born.
Yeah. Even Ferguson wasn't. And the thing is, dude, I also wanted to mention this. I was thinking about this for like the whole weekend, man. Last person to score a hat trick at Old Trafford. You remember who it was?
Berbatov, wasn't it?
I mean, no, the last person to score a hat trick against
You mean
United at Old Trafford.
Against United.
Yeah.
Against United at Old Trafford. Wait,
So no player has done it. There's only one player.
Yeah. Then it's no player. Yeah, Mo Salah lah, the last player technically as we speak.
Yeah, the last player, but before him. I'm talking about before him.
Man,
he's wearing a certain black Adidas Bank Siemens jersey. He was in the Champions League.
Oh, I remember. Was it Ronaldo?
Yeah, Ronaldo, man. R9 was the last person to score a hat trick at Old Trafford. I mean, what a record that was. I think. That was when Old Trafford actually gave him a standing ovation.
Standing ovation. I remember.
And then that was in the Champions League. And for Mo Salah to come and do it, I mean, obviously Mo Salah is great, but I mean, man, it just, that just shows like it took so many years for someone to finally come and do it, and it was done like too easily. I felt.
Definitely. I mean, records are. It's one of those things which are just putting the gloss over the. I mean, to me at least. I mean, when I look at this, all these things.
I mean, even the stats also I'm reading out is just. I mean, it just shows you the gravity of it.
Yeah. But on the whole, if you look at that game, right? Looking at the context of the hat trick, the R9 hat trick. If I remember, Man United won that game, but they didn't go through. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It was against Real Madrid.
So Beckham had come on in the second half.
Yeah, he scored a free kick and all that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So the score ended 4-3, but then Ronaldo was just unbeatable on that day.
Exactly. That was. But even then, I think what the coverage that Salah is getting for his hat trick, say what you want, because Mo Salah is fantastic. I think the best player at the moment in the world, but nobody would have given him easier chances like that. And we're talking about Mo Salah here like this. And I think that's.
We saw what he did against City, even against Watford. I think Watford did a better job of holding him down.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's
I'm just going to end it at this point because I think we better move on. We've been spending so much time. But the game, I mean, it was such a big game. Everybody loved it. If you were to pick three managers right now, right? So I'm going with Conte and Zidane because both of them are out of job. And I think they've been heavily linked. And of course, with someone of your choice, who would you go for if you were to pick for them?
That's a tough
Obviously,
one.
Al has said for many times that he liked Erik ten Hag, but between Conte and Zidane, I guess if you were to pick between those two.
Well, yeah, if you put Erik ten Hag within the three, he would build something that replicates a Guardiola or a Klopp. But even then, there's so many question marks on that.
Yeah.
Ajax is
because we saw what happened with Frank de Boer when he came.
To
the Premier League.
Again. It's more than the manager at Ajax. They've got a technical director. They've got proper sports teams over there, and they've got everything basically. Ajax is like the, it's in a way it's one of those teams where football is within their veins, their blood. It's like they eat, sleep football. I'm not saying that Man United aren't that. I'm just thinking that the structure of the club as a whole, that is way bigger than Erik ten Hag, is it's not there at Man United, so I don't know whether that's going to be coming. But if you ask me to pick between Zidane and Conte, right, I think the stats, the tactical nuances of the both of them, if you compare between the both of them very quickly, I think Conte is light years ahead in relation to what he's been given to it and to be playing according to that team.
I mean, just in his CV alone, I think if you compare Zidane and Conte's
his CV is magnificent. I mean, you go back to the Euros when he managed Italy, that team, and they didn't win the Euros obviously, but that team and how he progressed with that team, I thought that was fantastic. And of course Juventus, they were world class
because they fell on that year. On that year was 2016 Euros, basically. Al is talking about, and they fell just short of Germany.
Correct.
And Germany in turn went and lost to France. So I mean, they had made it quite far, and if I'm not mistaken, Al, they had gone. So it was, they had lost to penalties, right? Conte's
That's
Euro
right.
team had lost to penalties, and it was Simone Zaza who missed the penalty, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they had
So
gone far, and that was an Italy team, like Al was, I think Al wanted to mention, that was had
yeah.
aging players, had players we hardly even heard about.
Correct. And I remember Pirlo was there, but even Pirlo was at the light years of his. I mean, he was at the end
Yeah.
of his playing career, almost towards the end. I remember when he came to Chelsea, it wasn't like how you see it now. The players, it was players like Gary Cahill, David Luiz, Victor Moses. Victor Moses was playing at like prime Messi at times,
Yeah.
and David Luiz picking balls left, right, center. I remember vividly. Conte did mention, and again, this is David Luiz, yeah, and people have been bantering David Luiz a lot over the years, and he mentioned David Luiz was one of the most prominent players in that title-winning team. Of course,
Yeah.
regardless, you've got Diego Costa and all these things. So, if you ask me, I think Conte would be able to work better with the team as a whole.
Yeah.
Ole has always been primarily playing 4-2-3-1. Now, whilst his work last season got him second and things like that, I think Conte would be a little bit more effective with the tactical setup. He could play 3, he could play 5-3-2, he could play a 3-5-2, he could play a 4-3-1-2, he could play a 4-3-3. Donny van de Beek might be playing more. We might see these things. And he would definitely demand more from the players, even Ronaldo for that matter. Because I think if the way I look at it, I think Conte is not going to be taking any rubbish from anybody. And I think if you got to work hard in that sort of a thing, so I would say Conte would be if there were to be a change, that would be the
Who
most
knows?
best
Who knows?
available.
Fiery Italian and the Red Devils could be a perfect match.
Correct.
Yeah, so moving on from that, I think we spent enough time talking about United and
Yeah.
Liverpool, but there was so much talking points, guys, surrounding the game, and we're looking forward to see the reverse fixture in Anfield, to see where United are at that point, possibly with a new manager, maybe at a different point, in their career right now. I mean, in some of the players' careers, but definitely something needs to change, and those players just need to be shown a different direction, shown something different right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Aside from that, so I guess I think I would pick Conte as well, because I just see him doing a lot with that squad, and I think United have a squad that is conditioned to go and is prepped basically to go and win the league, very easily, and a lot could change, now, especially with Arsenal sort of on the come up, Spurs stuttering a bit with their new manager, now with Newcastle with all that finance. It's so important that United make an important decision that could change the course of their future. This is talking about future of a club with so much. I mean, guys, we saw Ferguson there during the game, and we saw his reaction to it. I think Fergie doesn't deserve to, have his final days watching a Manchester United team like this.
He's probably thinking, I worked so hard my whole life to build all of this just for this.
Just for this, yeah. It looked like it. It looked like it. Yeah, so I mean, the tactics that a big manager would come, that would definitely change a lot of things. He would not necessarily maybe get them to win the league or anything just yet, but it would definitely wouldn't be a 5-0 Liverpool score at Old Trafford. That's for sure.
Definitely.
So moving on, Al, to the other games of the weekend. So the weekend had a lot of games on that day. So which one should we get into? Well, the Watford beating Everton 5-2. I guess that was my favorite game. That was my favorite game. I mean, not really a big fan of Everton, so I was quite surprised because I turned on that game quite late. So the first half basically had both teams had gone into the first half 1-1, right? With Tom Davis with the early goal and Josh King with the equalizer. Second half came along and Everton were on the ascendancy, so that's when they brought on Richarlison, and Richarlison had come in and scored that goal. But as soon as it reached the 78-minute mark, when Uri Kuka had scored a header from the corner, my God, just that whole string of goals after that, I think it just showed that Watford were just waiting, and then they pounced on Everton when Everton had that slight moment of defensive
Correct.
instability, right? And they
Correct.
pounced out. I mean, it it would have been good at 3-2. I think it would have been a great performance, but it to end 5-2 in draw. That's definitely sort of something that Ranieri has already showed them in 1 week.
Correct.
How to score goals. And the fact that, Ranieri had made big decisions. They had to start with Josh King as the striker, right? Because the week before they had played a 4-1-4-1 and Ismail Sarr had started the game. So this week they went with the 4-1-4-1 with Sissoko in that midfield role, right? But he had put Ismail Sarr on the right wing and I think he had gone with a recognised striker. And
Correct.
it just shows out
the difference, exactly. The
difference with a recognized striker, because Sarr played in that position and Sarr's not a bad player, right? But he had made the decision to bring in Josh King, right? I mean, he had gone under a lot of pressure. I remember Joshua King had moved to Everton and he had not played at all. I think he had 6 starts off the bench and no goals, completely no goals, no assists. And what he had said after leaving Everton to Watford was that Ancelotti had brought him in and promised him to start him, but did not, and had lied to him basically, right? So he had gone to Watford to revive his career, but it was great to see. I think I enjoyed that game the most over the weekend.
No, and just to add a very small point, I mean, Watford, fantastic. And, you look at players like Craig Cathcart and Chucho Hernandez and all of these things. But Rafa Benitez must be irate. You don't see these things with his kind of clubs, with his kinds of setups. You rarely see these things. And you were right, you're spot on. I mean, Watford smell blood. It's that classic chess match. Okay, they've moved their queen outside. We're going to go in for the kill.
Exactly.
And that's what Watford did. A total
ultimate smash and grab almost.
Correct. Total change of dynamic. Even before the goal, I mean, just to add on a little bit, they were not. I didn't think at any point they were. I mean, Everton had moments, but I didn't think they were second best or they were average. You could clearly see the difference as compared to the Liverpool game, and of course yes, much different opposition. Liverpool are way stronger than Everton at the moment, but I think when you look at it on a whole, you're right. 1 week makes a big difference, I tell you. And I think Ranieri has already stamped his ethos on the game. And Watford, well done. 5-2 Josh King hat-trick.
Yeah.
They must be brimming with joy.
No, I saw a little bit of that first half, Al, and they just looked a little bit more compact. I think last week we were saying that whole thing failed against Liverpool. And it's Liverpool, let's be real, right? It's Liverpool, which is really on form right now. So it's a very in-form Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
So what we saw from Watford this week was the first half that was really compact, if not for the first 2 minutes where Tom Davies scored the goal. But aside from that, they were very compact, right?
Yeah.
And they still managed to hold on to the result. Definitely Everton got the second goal and they were leading the match. But for them to come back, it just shows that fight and that passion that we associate so well with Claudio Ranieri and his Leicester team, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they just never knew when to give up. They just constantly went for it and ended up winning the league that year. I'm not going to say Watford's going to win the league. Definitely, I think they're far from that. But with that group of players, I see, in 1 week, I see a lot more in Ranieri's team than I see in Daniel Farke in Norwich,
Yeah.
Every week I see Norwich, I just see them just not perform. They look like they are the punching bag for this year's PL team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I think Norwich is a really good team, and Al and I haven't really gotten to speaking about Norwich that much because of the fact that they haven't had a good start to the season, and they don't look like they're cut out for this level. They keep going back down, they keep having a good season in Championship, but as soon as they come up, the team doesn't.
No, the gulf of class is definitely.
And the point here I'm trying to make is it's you see what happens with a manager change. Sometimes it takes a while for the manager to come in and for you to see that he's affecting the team. But literally the next week, and Everton is no pushover. Like Al said, Benitez and the way he plays, we immediately see a change here.
Yeah. And I think even managers today know that it's no longer the game of, okay, we'll see where we are in a month. I think it's right away, right now. We saw it with Thomas Tuchel. We saw it now with, of course, Ranieri. I think, which is a good thing. I think managers are also now proactive through the whole sacking business because managers don't get time, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's great to see Ranieri, doing well and Watford being progressive, definitely. But yeah, Norwich, they got hammered 7-0. And when you look at it, Mason Mount hat-trick and Chelsea just steamrolling them, I think, from minute 1 right up to the end. Of course, the red card didn't help. Let's not forget. I think, but by the time the red card came, I thought even game over already. I think Chelsea were 4 up, I think. Were they 4 up or was it 5? Yeah, it was 4 up, I think. They were 4-0 up. And by then, I think it was already game over. But Chelsea were I think Chelsea very much took advantage of Norwich just being really poor on the day, not just on the day, they've been poor for a couple of weeks now. But yeah, some notable
there were a
mentions
few
of
things.
Chalobah did very well.
Yeah, and it was very obvious having Mason Mount back. It just because they didn't play with Lukaku
difference
on the day. It makes a big difference to the Chelsea team. And Ben Chilwell, he scores when he wants. He scores when he wants.
Exactly.
Ben Chilwell, he scores when he wants.
I think the Chelsea game was at the same time as one of the was it the Everton game one? I remember switching the channels and I saw Chelsea having a striker running around or in about the box, and I'm thinking, I didn't know Timo Werner had this sort of a hairstyle. Then when I look closely, Ben Chilwell playing, I thought he was a left back, but it tells you, you're right, he scores whenever he wants,
and he's almost like one of their top scorers, I think, for this season.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe that could be a small. We don't want to rain on a parade of a 7-0 winning team, but maybe that could
it's definitely an asset. It's definitely an asset.
Yeah.
Because, I think. Yeah, you go.
No, sorry. Because not to take anything away from them, of course, the team has just won 7-0. But if you've got Ben Chilwell getting more of the goals and your forwards not being the top, it could be the smallest of concerns. But in today's game, I don't think Thomas Tuchel is complaining. And I'm sure with Mason Mount back in the team, Lukaku's going to get back firing. But that could be a concern whenever you meet your big teams, your City, your Liverpools, and all of these things. But anyway,
I think
7-0
Chelsea
victory.
weren't tested enough on that day. We can just talk about their performance on that day. But I just wanted to, since we got into this Chelsea game, I do feel for Norwich because they don't look like they're cut out for this level, and they had made a lot of investment this season. With Brandon Williams coming from United into the team, them getting Ozan Kabak as well, them getting Billy Gilmore from Chelsea. I feel maybe Daniel Farke, he has tried, this is the second time, right, trying to get Norwich running in the Premier League, and it's not really worked, but they look like they have a good squad, Al. It's not like they have a bad squad. But the point I wanted to make, Al, about the Ben Chilwell thing, looks like Robertson's going to have to give up his throne soon, man. I really feel that because Andy Robertson definitely was and is definitely one of the best left backs in the world, but I didn't remember him having this much of a goal threat, right? So he never really scored that many goals. He definitely got the assists. But if Ben Chilwell can just increase his level of performance week in, week out, with getting the goals and also getting those assists, I see him becoming one of the best left backs in the world. And if Chelsea they can win the league, right? If they win the league this season, I think that would really elevate sort of Ben Chilwell's profile, because I think we've been talking about him for a long time. We saw what he did at Leicester, right? And it just shows that new fullback role has become such an attacking role, If you can settle all your defensive duties, right? And if you're solid defensively, know when to push up, know when to get those goals, because it's down to coaching that Ben Chilwell knows when to push, knows when to get those goals, and knows when to fall back and knows when to defend the team. And I think Tuchel, one of the things that he's shown is that he can get the best defensive qualities out of that team, right? They haven't been playing with Kante. I think Kante has been in and out of the team a lot of times this season. Jorginho is not that much of a defensive midfielder. Kovacic as well. He's not much of a defensive midfielder. But what he's done with that defense is get them so solid defensively that they're confident when they attack, Like Rudiger, I can see he's like almost like excited to go up and attack and get goals. It's scary to watch. Like, to be honest, it's really scary to watch. But really, I think I singled out Ben Chilwell for that reason. I mean, so many times when Chelsea have looked like they couldn't get the goal, he has been the one to break the deadlock, and it just shows you the role of the modern fullback. And the
Yeah,
bar is just these guys are just going to be setting the bar. I think Trent and Robbo set the bar
correct,
high a few
correct.
years ago, right? When there weren't many attacking fullbacks in the league or in the world at that time, right? And they had taken Europe by storm by winning the Champions League and then winning the league and winning the Club World Cup and everything like that. But I really see a new generation of fullbacks coming up, attacking fullbacks, and I think it's really going to sort of modernize that role, really, of attacking fullbacks.
No, definitely. I mean, this is the way the game is being played today. You look at players like João Cancelo, and of
Yeah,
course, let's not mention Trent and Robbo and all of these players
yeah.
who are playing
Even
just really
even in the
well.
other leagues, people like Ashraf Hakimi and the
Yeah, Ashraf
Mendy's, both
Hakimi,
the Mendy in
Benjamin
PSG.
Pavard.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Al, did you see Alaba's goal for
Oh
Real in the
yeah,
El
I did. Oh
Clasico
yeah,
for the
yeah.
week?
Again, as we're speaking about fullbacks, there we go.
Yeah,
Another one.
another
Yeah,
fullback, Alaba.
and
Yeah,
Alaba, yeah, definitely. And so it tells you, I think one of the most important parts of the pitch. I would dare say almost as important as centre mid, because I'm a big fan of central midfield being the heart of the game. But yeah,
yeah,
fullbacks today as important, I think, because today
yeah.
that's your main basis of the attack. And the fullbacks are good. I think that's your team almost always will work towards that and be good as well. So yeah, we can see it.
Yeah.
We can see it very clearly.
Moving on from the Chelsea game, I guess we can stay in London with Arsenal. Al. I found
Yeah,
that was a really good result against Aston Villa.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
this is a good Aston Villa team. Let's not kid ourselves. It's Aston Villa that got a clean sheet at Old Trafford. This is Aston
yeah.
Villa that's you know quite solid. Definitely not a bit inconsistent over the last 2 years, but I think that was a good result by Arsenal. But what I wanted to tell you, Al, right? For that game, Arteta had gone with a 4-4-2.
Yeah,
He had
correct.
gone with a 4-4-2, and it made the world of difference for that team,
Mm,
right? And I've
mm,
seen this team coming up quite regularly. So obviously, we won't have too much time to get into the rest of the results, right? So City with a victory over the
yeah.
weekend, 4-1 victory against Brighton, which I thought was a really good victory because Brighton have been,
Oh yeah, City were really good.
yeah, I think in
Bernardo
that first
Silva,
half,
just
because
fantastic, man.
because dude, when I watched that game, that the Brighton keeper, he was really keeping them in the game.
Yep,
And they
yep.
were really comfortable on the ball because against City, with how well they press, he was just passing the ball out through the back and everything. But it was just that City were too good and too clinical on that day.
Mm,
So we're not really going to get into that game. We'll see more
yep.
Brighton as they come. West Ham with a great result against Spurs.
Oh, Mikel
I think,
Antonio.
I think I watched that game, Al, and Kane didn't just look up for it. I mean, Harry Kane didn't look up for it at all. I think there were so many chances where he could have gotten the first goal, and I just felt that it was not the Harry Kane that is
I think his
constantly a
head is
threat.
not at. It's simple. The way
Yeah,
I look
you
at it, I
can.
think the head is not in
I,
the
I,
game
I
at
really see that
Spurs.
now because it's a really pity because Kane used to be one of those complete strikers who even defends,
Correct,
and even tracks
correct.
back. He's aggressive when he presses, but I just see him like he's almost like, yeah, I'm gonna jog around and wait for the chances to
Yeah,
come and do my role as a striker. I'm not gonna do more than that, because it just seems like, and I feel that's really gonna affect Spurs this season and Nuno if they don't figure out a problem to that because they need a striker who's going to be, you know, along with Son and along with that front line, along with Lucas Moura pressing. If he's going to be the weak link there, and he's just being there because he's Harry Kane and he can get you goals every now and then, I think they're going to have to find a solution for that problem. Because West Ham were far from their best that day, but they got their goal and Mikel Arteta got their goal. The crucial goal at the end there, right? And as well with Leicester
Aaron.
winning at Brentford. But yeah, the thing I wanted to mention to you, Al, is that day when I watched the Arsenal game and I saw Arteta play 4-4-2, it was almost like a throwback, to the old Fergie, the
To the
way Fergie used to play.
yesteryears.
Yeah, yesteryears. And
Mm,
even with Guardiola, so he started the first game against Spurs. Obviously, on the lineup sheet, it says 4-3-3, right? But even Guardiola has been experimenting with this 4-4-2,
yeah,
right? So, because they don't have a recognized striker, I mean, one of the memes I saw was that City don't have a recognized striker, but Guardiola plays 4-4-2. It's so funny. But but I wanted to say, I mean, it made a big difference. So on that day, Lacazette and Aubameyang, Lacazette was probably the best player and was such a nuisance for Aston Villa, right? But not only that, Partey and Lokonga.
Oh yeah, Partey was really good.
Yeah,
Partey was really good.
Yeah. And he played before in 4-4-2 with Atletico Madrid, because Atletico Madrid play well with a 4-4-2 and they play with a really compact way. I just felt it was a masterstroke by Arteta. Do you think the 4-4-2 could be revived in a modern game of like 4-3-3 and all these, these crazy formations? I mean,
I think definitely. I think it could be revived very, very seriously if we look at it. I think what happens in today's game is that you may look at the team sheet and it might say 4-2-3-1, say for example. It may say something like that, but I think when they get into the shape of the game, right, it's going to morph into a 4-4-2. Sort of like what Guardiola did and so on. And you're right. Guardiola can do that because I think Guardiola doesn't play with a striker, and we've seen him play Grealish in the middle against Liverpool, Bernardo Silva in the middle, and that's the thing. I think formations are very much workable according to the players that play around you. And one stat that I saw a long time ago is that two teams that used to play 4-3-3 when the 4-3-3 was the talk of the town was Barcelona and of course Stoke City under Tony Pulis. So when you look at it very seriously, I think formations complement the players that play around you, like what you mentioned about Partey. And he brings out the best. Because if Arteta can do this, then Thomas Partey, people like Partey, Aubameyang, they might have consistent performances. I thought Partey played very well against Aston Villa. I know Aston Villa was a bit poor. I thought, it's unlike them. They were not so good on the day. But
Al, if you looked on paper, right, and that midfield of John McGinn, Douglas Luiz, and who else? Sorry, I just mentioned
Cash and Target.
Yeah, but I'm talking about just purely for the Aston Villa midfield, right? So on that day, the Aston Villa midfield was Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, and Buendia, right? So they played in the midfield three. And you compare it to Partey and Lokonga, it looks evenly matched, really. I feel it looks evenly matched, But you see that 3-4-1-2 system that Aston Villa had done for the last 2 weeks have not worked, right? So they play with a three centre back, a 3-man centre back with Tuanzebe, Mings, and Konza, and it didn't work at all. And the fact that Arsenal had reverted back to that old 4-4-2 just showed, because obviously 4-4-2 changes to 4-2-3-1 as well, with Lacazette playing, with Aubameyang playing off Lacazette, right? So he plays more of the mobile striker role. But I think I just felt it was like such a great throwback. And sorry, Al, you were saying something about the midfield and Partey, right?
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is that it's nice to see the throwback, because 4-4-2 is pretty much what we grew up on. Everybody was playing 4-4-2 at one point of time. Everybody, you could be international football, league football, whatever. Everybody was playing 4-4-2. But I think if you get formations to complement players, I think that's definitely a good thing, because Thomas Partey has not been having, in my opinion, the best of seasons. Of course, the Aston Villa game, he was fantastic. But I thought somebody of Partey's caliber, should be churning out good performances week in, week out. And, you can see, Arsenal look a very different team when they've got their top players playing well, And I honestly, I thought after the Crystal Palace game that Villa might be getting an away win here, because, Villa are a top side.
I thought they would get a win easy. Really.
Yeah, but they didn't. You say it tells you, because I thought Palace, in a lot of times, outclassed Arsenal.
Right.
Thomas, Patrick
and
Vieira,
in terms of the energy and the pressing as well.
Exactly.
I think they're of Gallagher and a few of those players in the Crystal Palace team, they press very well, actually. Right.
So when you look at it, I thought Villa could have had an easy win, but the opposite, because Arsenal's midfielders came to play, and I thought Partey, Saka was fantastic. Lacazette and Aubameyang looked the part. Sambi Lokonga was good as well. And all this, and of course, the big one, Emile Smith Rowe, he was fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Goal and an assist.
And he's a goal threat. I think Carragher, I don't know whether he's smoking something, but what he said was that Emile Smith-Rowe might be the best ball carrier in the league in terms of just carrying the ball with pace. And I
Yeah,
mean, I was shocked when he said that, but he could have a point. Yeah, I mean,
he could have.
Emile
Yeah,
Smith-Rowe could be breaking into that England squad very, very soon, right? If he can, I mean, get those performances,
yeah,
increase his
definitely. I mean,
performances and increase his
well done
level.
Arsenal
Because
for the win.
yeah, well done, Arsenal. I was actually pleasantly surprised because they looked like they looked very comfortable in that 4-4-2 position. And I think Arsenal plays a lot better with Lacazette in the team, right? Because Lacazette does a little bit of what Firmino does in terms of pressing, in terms of holding up the ball, in terms of, pressuring the defenders. I mean, it just adds a different dimension to that Arsenal attack.
Definitely.
I mean, we've,
So
we've, we've had a go at Arsenal many times this season, but I
yeah,
felt we needed to give them the props.
definitely we gotta hold our hands up and say good
Yeah.
win Arsenal. But we'd like to see this week in, week out, because that's not what we've been seeing so far. So
Yeah.
time only will tell.
So yeah, I think it was a great throwback, just seeing some of those 4-4-2 and some of these old formations that Al and myself grew up on. I think if you think of did Ferguson use a 4-4-2? He did, right?
But yeah,
For
pretty
quite a
much.
long
I
time.
think pretty much almost every title winning team. I think Arsenal didn't really play technically with a 4-4-2 a lot in the early 2000s. I thought Wenger was a little bit more creative. But you talk about Blackburn, you talk about Newcastle, you talk about, of course, Man United. I think Blackburn had Shearer and Sutton. Then Newcastle had Shearer and Les Ferdinand.
Yeah.
And of course, Man United had York and Cole and all these fellas. Arsenal, of course, had Henry and Bergkamp. Liverpool had you had Owen Fowler, and then Michael Owen. I think Michael Owen played with Gerrard also, 4-4-1-1 perhaps, and all of this thing. Gerrard played on the right. I think Gerrard played almost everywhere in the Liverpool team.
Yeah, he's played right back before. He's played except centre back. Except centre back.
Yeah.
He's played everywhere else except centre back.
Correct.
He's even played as a striker, I think, before. But I think
Yeah.
his best position was behind Torres.
Yeah,
So
correct.
Torres
Behind the
played off
striker,
him.
I thought
Yeah,
that was his best season, lah. When
because
he
he was a
played
very
like that.
mobile player, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, I think we just love seeing some of these throwbacks to the old way of football. Because like you see, I mean, with all these modern tactics and these modern formations, if you don't do the basics right, it's all gonna go to shit. I think
Yeah,
we've seen it a
definitely.
couple of times. We've seen it so many times. The thing is, I've seen like sort of club religiously play with a 4-3-3, right? So he hardly reverts from a 4-3-3 unless it's sort of it's not a really 4-4-2, but a 4-2-4, right? So with a double
Yeah,
pivot and four
yeah,
attackers. But the thing is, with Fabinho and Henderson there, even Henderson, he doesn't have like that day. Henderson played in the 6 right now, but he has the discipline to play in that role. And one thing I noticed about United when they play with a double pivot, just quickly before we end the show here, I don't think McTominay is cut out for that role.
Oh,
I
definitely
think
not. Yeah,
I think McTominay is such a mobile midfielder. I've seen so many times where he's had like sort of a backheel pass. He has skills, and I think like it really could be an attacking threat. You see, when you do play with a double pivot, when you play, let's say, okay, United were very attacking in that first half against Liverpool. I mean, before obviously they got all the goals, they were playing with a
yeah,
4-2-4, right? So with Greenwood, Rashford, Ronaldo, and Fernandes in that 4 up top, and the 2 midfielders just covering that space. But you see, when you do play 4-2-4, and the 2 midfielders are covering at the bottom there behind the attack, there's a lot of space there to cover, right? There's
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
space there. I mean, if we have a 4-4-2, fine, it's compact, right? There's 4 midfielders. I mean, there's 4 players in that midfield to cover. But if you play with a 4-2-4, there's only 2 midfielders to cover that amount of space. And they're going to have to do a lot of defensive duties. And I
It,
feel
it,
that
it,
on someone like
it
McTominay, I don't think he should be doing what
definitely.
Henderson does.
When you play with a 4-2-4, usually it's most of the time it's when you're chasing a game or when you're chasing a goal, right? That's why you've got
Yeah.
the 4 bombing forward, and the 2 that are playing in the double pivot. Of course, their primary job is to stop the opposing team attacking. But
Yeah.
what people don't see is that before the opposing team is in that position to attack that double pivot, the double pivot should already see 5 seconds, 10 seconds before what's happening. It's like a screener,
Exactly.
it's screening all the possibilities that might take place. That's why
Like a radar, just like sniffing out all those like danger
it's like
points during the team. Yeah.
these kind of players, are really, in my opinion, one of the players that are the smartest players to play. You don't have to be so actually. The narrative is, you got to be physically, Gennaro Gattuso sort of a style, but it's not. I don't think that's the case. You look at people, Michael Carrick, Gerrard in the later years.
Even Darren Fletcher, one of my
Darren
favorite
Fletcher.
United players over the years was Darren Fletcher.
Yeah, all these kind of players. It's like knowing what's going to happen before it actually happens, which of course then prevents the thing that happened, your positioning. And again, that's the thing. Fred and McTominay, even when Solskjaer was playing well last season, I don't think they had that, because that comes with a footballing brain, obviously. But they were massively poor in that category on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I think, of course, that's not the difference, but one of the differences.
I mean, Liverpool is one of those teams that you cannot give them space at all.
Yeah.
Like not having space.
Fabinho does that very well, right now.
Yeah. Because he's basically just there to cover the centre backs, right? He offers very little in attack. Sometimes he does, with the shots and sometimes with the assists. But his role is purely as a defensive midfielder, right? When I look at McTominay, I feel he has more attacking qualities and attacking attributes. And I wouldn't equate him to a defensive midfielder. And with Fred as well, I think he's good on the ball, he's good at pressing, blah, blah, blah. But he's not going to fly into tackles,
Yeah.
He's not going to use he doesn't have much of a physicality there to really use it. But, you wouldn't equate those both midfielders to be using their physical qualities to defend that much, right? So,
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that I noticed as well, in these formations things. Yeah, you can play the 4-2-4, you can play 4-3-3, but you need the right players in those positions, right? And here's to hoping that United can go out maybe in January and get a good midfielder, right? Just to change the whole dynamic of that midfield. I think it would make a big difference just to have a good midfielder there. But I'm afraid that's all we have time for in this week's episode. So I guess Ollie, we want you to stay, or Ollie, we want you to go?
Well, I think Ole, we just want you to be happy. Do whatever.
We just want you to be happy. We don't want you to see being made a clown. By the media.
No, go and coach Norway. I hear they've got a fantastic striker who's just bombing in goals left, right, center. So that's not a bad job either. He's coaching Erling Haaland, isn't it? I mean, that's not too shabby.
Yeah, definitely. I think let's just leave Ronaldo to the master technicians. Yeah, but I'm afraid that's all we have time for. So thanks for listening, and we will see you again real soon. This is me,
Ciao, guys. Take care.